jail. Well, one time.
Nice friendly more book up. No, sir. I don't know.
Especially the 90s.
Take your time.
It's short.
Top one, Jack.
I call him right on the station. They finally tracked him down.
So does he have to be in the same range for the teams?
They get the game back. They do. Like during the game. That we really do.
Rest of all of you went through it. Oh, we got a bus on the way out.
Yeah. But you know, I mean.
Yeah. No, I do something. Stop popping goes 29 minutes. People do.
I think, yeah, now we get passed out, I didn't, and stuff.
Yep.
Outside of those,
So I do it.
it's,
I'm convinced computers won't do what you tell them.
Where you guys been out with the youngest? Yeah, didn't. Kind of fun, that was the best. Yeah, like, kind of like.
little myself, that is fine.
Just like, oh.
I'm just.
Yeah, that's. Oh, here too.
That's over there, swim book for a little Italian guy. Real small, big guy is my dad.
Yeah.
remove themselves from emergency services. So I can give this.
Excellent. Yeah, give that to Angela.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
The chapter?
Hey.
Hi,
Hey, how you been?
Thank you, Colin.
Um, it's in reference to the incidences that have been happening on my street at East Shirley Terrace. I think we talked about this once before.
Yeah.
Lots of things have happened to me since probably June. Lots of thefts, lots of larcenies, which I can't catch on my camera. I've called zillions of times to the police. I've gotten in trouble for that and many things, clothes, anything, slippers, sweaters, cell phones, Chromebooks, at least 3 cell phones, 1 Chromebook. The DeWitt Police has not actually taken the reports that I asked them to take with regards to the electronic equipment. There's been also interference on the Wi-Fi, so I feel like sometimes people can hone into the Wi-Fi so they could possibly hear me. I don't know if that's me or not, but now I'm just pissed. I'm very pissed off.
I haven't heard from you in a while. If you would like, we'll get together again and
Yes,
I can take notes on these.
yes. I gained 25 pounds. I was asked to go to, not asked, I was arrested right outside here. The DeWitt Police told to go to the hospital where I stayed for 9 days, where they gave me medicines, which increased my weight. I now weigh 205 pounds when I was 174 pounds back in July, because in fact, those medicines and what they did to me at the hospital. As a result of other people stealing in my neighborhood, as a result of across the street, whatever side, I don't know where it's coming from. I can almost assure you it's a neighbor and they have direct sideline to my house, my mom's house, actually. So I'm really, really upset about all that, and we'll talk further.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thanks. I'll ask. Angela's busy right now, but sometime in the next week or so, we'll set up an appointment with her.
Cameras? I now have cameras, but they don't show a lot. If sometimes, like a couple of days, there's nothing because it didn't work. I mean, somehow, I don't know. I now have cameras, internal cameras, but obviously I can't tell who did it. So that's what I'm trying to say. You're probably saying the same thing. Okay,
Thanks.
but I have a good idea
I
who
look,
the people are and that the DeWitt Police has not talked to them, period. As far as I know.
all right. I look forward to our
Thanks.
meeting.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Okay, are you able to take the roll?
Yeah, Dan, I'm just gonna have to set you down because I gotta.
Sure.
And as long as the scouts have had a really good turnout here, does anybody want to kind of step up and tell
That's a little bit about us. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I thought I heard something good.
Says it should work.
Ange, I'm gonna be bold and I'm gonna take roll for you.
Okay, thank you.
The supervisor is here. Counselor Mannion,
Here.
Counselor Chiarenza,
Here.
Counselor Alex,
Here.
Counselor Bruxenfeld,
Here.
Counselor Hood,
Here,
Counselor Dooling.
Here.
Okay, I think we're all present. That, I'm gonna jump to the first agenda item.
if I can, could we jump to DeWittshire? We have a couple residents.
Oh, sure, yeah, yep. The DeWittshire parking issue?
Do either, you want to speak or do you want to just kind of slink in the back?
You want to speak first, then
You're more than welcome to speak if, for the
Yep.
topic if you'd like.
Please, if you want to address the board. Welcome.
good evening. Name's Tom Coyle. I live in DeWittshire. First up, thank you all for your service. And so over the past couple of years, the afternoon pickup from the children from Moses DeWitt Elementary School has become a traffic nightmare on Jamesville Road and on Canterbury. And if you're not familiar with the geography of DeWittshire, there's limited access getting into and out of DeWittshire. Onto Genesee Street, you can only make a right-hand turn to go down under 481. And so the only way you can come back and forth both ways is on Canterbury Road, which is on the corner of the school. And so over the past few years, it's become more popular for the parents of the school children to pick them up in their car. And they congregate outside the school on Jamesville Road and also around on Canterbury. And Canterbury Road is wide enough to have 3 cars across. One lane going one way, one lane going the other way, and parked cars. And the people wanting to pick their children up, line up, but there are also, and so they're in the middle of the road. And then there are parked cars on the right-hand side of it, leaving two lanes of traffic going against one another. It leads, and it's not like the traffic is moving for a long time. They're sitting there waiting for the kids to be ready to be dismissed. And so it leads to a big traffic jam. And since there's limited access to get in and out of DeWittshire, it's quite an inconvenience to the residents of DeWittshire. And the other thing is, eventually that sort of traffic jam, you will end up in some sort of problem with given enough time. An ambulance not getting through, etc. So there's some level of risk involved with this. So we'd like you to come up with a solution. Now,
Well, we actually have
and
pieces in motion.
yeah,
Whether-
I would have one immediate suggestion. There is employee, I would assume
Yes.
that the people parking on Canterbury Road and are employees of the school. They come in the first thing in the morning and then they leave in the afternoon and nobody parks on Canterbury Road otherwise. This morning I counted this morning, there were 8 cars.
I counted 9. We're on the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and also, you know, there's the employee parking lot and there's also the next a little auxiliary parking lot that got put in.
this is,
That's got 20 spaces in it, and when I counted, there were 4 cars in those spaces. So there's enough parking there. It would be cheap enough, it wouldn't cost the town very much to make Canterbury Road no parking during school days.
correct. And that's what we're looking at. We have worked with the school district for years on this issue. The no parking zones that you see in the area are a result of past decisions made with the school district. If you go across the street to the west, across Jamesville Road, many of the side streets were parked by employees of the school district because they could cross the street and get out quicker than waiting for the buses to leave. And so I think that all that did was transfer the problem to this side of the street. The one thing that is a difficulty in establishing no parking zones, and we've had these issues around schools, the high school, the middle school, the elementary schools, is it tends to punish the resident that lives on that block. Because when they have company or they have a emergency in their family, I remember an instant that got back to us at the board level because officers didn't know it at the time. It was in another neighborhood, but they ticketed a family that had a death in the family, and everybody arrived from various locations, parked all over the streets. And so we have to be careful, and you're absolutely right. We'll probably start with a minimal approach, and the no parking zone will have restricted hours. And it might likely be school days from,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
7:30 in the morning to, but even still, that can have a negative effect on a homeowner or someone that it.
Although I would bet if you asked, that there were only a couple of houses on Canterbury Road, most of Canterbury, one half of Canterbury Road is
Right.
the school. There's only a couple of houses. I'll bet if you clear the traffic out in front of their house, they'll be happy, but.
Yeah, no.
I'll let them speak for themselves.
We will pull them. Typically, what we do, when a neighbor or resident comes to us and requests no parking zones, we throw it right back at them and say, get us a petition. Right? If someone wants a street light, we ask, get a petition. That way then when it comes before us, this is a process. It'll take 4 to 6 weeks for us to get a law in place that puts up a no parking zone. So once we have the recommendations from the highway department and the police department, because we asked them to do a traffic study, they'll review the counts just as you guys have made, and they'll put together a proposal. It'll come back before this board. But we typically like to know that the residents are in support. So then we will post the neighborhood and tell them when the public hearing is, and people can come speak in favor or opposed. I mean, like all of politics, there's never any ubiquitous mindset. Not everybody's in total agreement on every one of these issues. But I do believe in this case, majority of the neighborhood will support a no parking zone, and we're working towards that. My final comment is we've worked and requested the school district to limit their employee parking to their parking lots. And it may last a school year. And that's been a repeated effort. It's been an ongoing conversation with the JD School District. And there's no teeth in that. There's no legal requirement. The school district can't legally tell their employees they have to park on.
And the Wiltshire Community Club had contacted.
Yeah.
Kind of didn't feel we were getting anywhere, so we thought that maybe we'd come to.
Well, we'll be reaching back with recommendations on the locations and the timing of the no parking zones.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a timeline for when we can anticipate the traffic study to be completed? For Rob?
Change quickly. Get it done. Within the week if you need to, I mean, it's.
Typically, what'll happen is even, let's say they turn it around in a week to 2 weeks, then we'll post and we have to set a public hearing. We send mailings to the residents. They'll be noticed of the public hearing. And then even if, let's say, a month's time, we pass a resolution to enact that no parking zone, by law, it's not affected for like another 2 weeks. So that's why it'll take about 4 to 6 weeks.
Is there a possible, I'm just trying to think with the timing, considering we're already in March, to have an effect, because I've noticed it, I drive by every day. It has gotten worse just this year. Can we move the process along as quickly as possible to get the no parking in place before the end of the school year? Because I'm just a little worried that it could end up being
Yeah,
next year.
this is mid-March. We can have it done by easily the end of April.
Can we take the email that the Dwitshire community used? It had, I don't know, 20 houses on there as the survey.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm not asking for
We don't need to do the survey again and then
no, we need to do the mailing and
We need the notification.
tell them what we're doing, but we don't need a petition. And, you know, if you have pressure to put on the school district, ask them.
You get signs up, no parking. What then is the enforcement?
Then the police have the right to ticket.
Okay. And just as the parking issues that were at Springfield Gardens, and they put signs up. Will there be a consistency of enforcement equitably?
That's a question for the police commission.
we meet.
Because if you're going to ticket and the concern,
no,
and
no.
compassion for one
Yep.
community, it should be equitable for
Absolutely.
all communities that have no parking signs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a number of no parking areas throughout the school district. Around the JD High School during sporting events, there's been a number of complaints over the years. You have places on the north side of town, all of Randall and Tecumseh during the Greek Fest. And stuff has been no parking, so.
I'm hopeful that similarly as happened on Tecumseh, we put the signs up last year when Raga staff put them up. There wasn't really a need for ticketing over there. It's just once there's a sign, people know not to do it. They don't. If they're not doing it over at Springfield Gardens, then yeah, then that's an issue that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I would get the police department and ask that you take a look at that. My pet peeve is the speeding in the school zones. Too. I like to see that controls. Okay,
Steve, can we get that by Friday?
is there anyone else in the audience that has the agenda item that they would like addressed? Okay, with that, I'll go back to the top at the Stormwater Coalition.
So the first item is to continue the town's participation in the Stormwater Coalition. Matt has the resolution. It's supporting participation in the CNY Stormwater Coalition Staff Services and Education Compliance Assistance Program. It's $3,600 a year. And I believe the town has been a member of this for several years. The purpose of the CNY Stormwater Coalition is to provide regulated MS4 communities with support in meeting requirements of the New York State MS4 General Stormwater Permit. And the following services are provided to members of the coalition: administrative and staff support for CNY Stormwater Coalition meetings, public education and outreach implementation and reporting, administering MS4 mapping grant funding and project, and direct municipal assistance.
I'll just add that this is both a state and federal requirement. And that any municipality that doesn't join the coalition is then required by law to take these costs on themselves. And if you're not part of the coalition, you're gonna spend a lot more money accomplishing these deeds than you would if you were a member.
Are funding our portion,
Right.
$3,600.
Correct. Any comment? Just for the Boy Scouts' sake, under the Clean Water Act, rainwater, stormwater, melt from snow is regulated. Often it can be one of the number one source of pollution to our streams and lakes. But we spend all winter throwing salt on the road, and then in the spring it melts and runs into the creeks and lakes. And so the stormwater is monitored and controlled. And as part of the Clean Water Act, you're joining a coalition where municipalities all over central New York have got together to monitor and maintain their compliance with that part of the law. Okay. Any comment? Do I have a motion? Max, a second from Sarah. I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. Thank you. Planning and zoning annual report.
Yes, so I'm going to give a brief overview of our annual report. I'm going to cover everything except code enforcement. I have our code enforcement officer, Derek White, here with me tonight, and he's going to talk about. So as you guys know, 2024 was a very transformative year for planning and zoning. Started out the year with 1 full-time employee. By the end of the year, we had 5, and now we have 6. So in 2024, we hired a director, code enforcement officer, environmental planner, and administrative assistant. And then our clerk 2 just started in January. In the report, and I'm not going to go through all of this right now, but I know everyone hasn't had an opportunity to meet all of our new employees yet, so I provided just a little introduction and description of everyone's responsibilities. So you can see what's going on in the department, all the employees. So the goals for 2024 really focused on rebuilding the department. The goals were to hire staff in planning, code enforcement, and administration, and provide staff with the resources necessary to revive department programming. Organize the office and develop procedures to improve workflow processes to serve the public more effectively and efficiently. Focus on rebuilding and strengthening relationships with residents, the town board, planning and zoning boards, developers, consultants, and state and county agencies. Establish the department as the hub for the planning board process to centralize and improve communication, provide clear and consistent procedures, and facilitate more comprehensive and efficient review of projects. Build a code enforcement presence in the town, including increasing responsiveness, applying the town code consistently, streamlining procedures, and prioritizing protection of vulnerable communities of the town. And lastly, restore public trust in the Department of Planning and Zoning. So our revenue in 2024 increased significantly from 2023. Total revenue was over $1.1 million, up from approximately $700,000 in 2023. Development permit revenue comprised over $1 million of this. These development permits translated into over $100 million in investments in the town based on estimated construction costs provided on building permit applications. Planning board revenue was approximately $105,000. CBA revenue was approximately $30,000. There were a few reasons that revenue increases that happened from 2023 to 2024. One was an increase in development fees in October 2023. We also had a higher number of site plan and development permit applications. And we had improved staffing and process efficiency, which allowed us to review things faster and get some more projects. In 2024, the department issued 396 development permits, which was an increase from 374 permits issued in 2023. Planning board approved 55 projects in 2024, up from 35 projects in 2023. CBA approved 18 variances and special use permits, up from 15 in 2023. One of the things we really focused on in 2024 was establishing the department as the central hub of planning board communication and coordination. Prior to 2024, there was really no central coordination for planning board. Now the department is the primary contact and directs all coordination between the board, developers, consultants, and outside agencies such as state and county DOTs and the New York State. We also ensure that accurate and consistent information is being provided. And having a central hub allows the process to run more efficiently, which is a significant part of the reason we were able to review and approve 20 more projects in 2024 than 2020. The report provides a brief summary of the planning and sustainability plans and projects that the department is responsible for. A few highlights. I worked with the town engineer on the hazard mitigation plan to Onondaga County. Multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan is the full title of that. So the town has its own chapter in there. And basically we had to come up with new projects to mitigate all of the natural hazards covered in the plan. And they added some new ones this year. These are like flooding, severe storms, and invasive species. They're like 10 to now. There was town tree giveaway. We distributed approximately 5,000 native trees and shrubs. Street tree program, worked with the recreation department to update the website and a brochure. And 13 trees were planted with assistance from the Parks Department. The tree committee held Arbor Day celebration in May, and the town was recognized as Tree City USA Community for 2024. I believe that was our 13th year. We missed 2023, but other than that, it's been every year since 2010. In 2024, 144 trees were inoculated against the emerald ash borer. The department applied for a NYSERDA grant and was awarded a $50,000 grant for the purchase of electric landscaping equipment. It'll be used by the Parks and Highway Department. And we continue to whitetail deer management in the town. 57 deer sold between January and March 2024. So for 2025, we're hoping to build on our accomplishments of 2024. So the goals for 2025 include begin the process of updating the Dwight Comprehensive Plan, initiate long-term Laserfish file digitation and record management project. This is something we're really excited for with the town clerk to basically digitize all of our records at the beginning of time. It takes several years, but it should be really exciting. We're continuing to update sections of the town code that are outdated or unclear, update the planning board site plan design guidelines, update the application submittal process to eliminate the need to require thumb drives, and updating sections of the town's website. Enhance the code enforcement program by beginning more proactive outreach to address violations and addressing unresolved violations through the town court system, which we began last month. Create an inventory of private stormwater basins for the town to begin tracking basin maintenance, and apply for grant funding for projects including plan updates, sidewalks, and green initiatives.
A great report. Thank you.
For those in the Boy Scouts that might, the town is structured so that there are three major boards. This is the town board, and therefore we're the legislative body. We enact the codes or the ordinances that set our codes and our local laws. There's two other boards that interact with the planning and zoning office. First being the zoning board, and the zoning board is responsible for overseeing the zone, the way most municipalities, especially in New York State, are structured is that you wouldn't be able to site a fertilizer plant next to a home. You have different codes of which allow certain structures in certain areas. So our industries are by and large separated or buffered from our residences. You might see on the news where tragedy occurs in other locations. There are states that don't believe in zoning, and you'll see those tragedies where a fertilizer plant blew up in a neighborhood. And so there's reasons for zoning and restrictions and controlling what happens on the land. Then there's a planning board, and Alana and her office interact with the planning board, and they control the information that flows to that board. But that board is like the zoning board, 7 volunteers that sit and make decisions regarding the development. So any business that comes and wants to move into the town and construct a new factory or a shopping mall or center, or whether they purchase a building and they're going to change the use of that building or modify it, they go in front of the planning. And there's then a process that carries them through to make those changes. So her department oversees that. And one of the things I'll communicate to you is coming out of COVID, just like most municipal governments, the town of DeWitt suffered from a lack of employees. But Lana's office had one employee just a few years ago. And we've been rebuilding and restaffing that. And in a minute, Derek's going to talk about code enforcement. But for years, we've had people come to this board and request we do something. And my pushback has been when I get some code enforcement officers, because for the last 3 or 4 years, we haven't had any code enforcement officers. And so Derek has come in and he's trained, and now we've got another partner for him to deal in that area. But our goal would be probably 3 full-time code enforcement officers. So we're still not quite there yet, but we are recovering. So anyway, she gave us a progress report of what happened in 2024 and set our goals for 2025. And I don't know if you heard that, but if you have any questions, now's a good time to ask. All right, and with that,
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for breaking it down and putting it in perspective. I think that helps put it all together for them a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, midterm will reinforce that.
Yeah, well, I know how it is to come to something like this and everybody's speaking in hieroglyphics, right? It's very hard to walk out of here and understand what's happening if someone doesn't take the time to back up and somewhat explain it. So it's difficult.
I just want to say again, thank you and thank for Springfield Gardens support. It has made a world of difference. So thank both of you. But we mentioned, trying to go back, the fire inspections. Is that done just by codes or is it done in conjunction with DeWitt Fire Department?
We do those. And Derek's gonna talk about that a little bit,
Oh,
in his
okay.
code enforcement section, but yeah, right now, we're the only ones doing that. We have Rick Bosch, who's a part-time inspector who works about 20 hours a week, and he's basically always doing fire inspections.
And we could use about 10 of them.
We could, yes.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Hey, thank you, Alana. Excellent. Great report. Derek is our code enforcement officer and he's going to talk about that.
Evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. Public speaking makes me want to run into the forest and hide. So excuse me for stumbling through this. Just a little add-on for all of our permits. To finish off those permits, we have to do final inspections. And we did 181 certificates of compliance for those building permits, and then another 90 certificates of occupancy for buildings that have been either changed or that built. Alana was mentioning Rick, he does all of our, not all of our, but basically he does all of our building safety inspections, which are the fire inspections, otherwise known as. The only things that he doesn't do, the state does some schools, fire schools and stuff like that. Everything else we're essentially responsible for. And then we have Lee Baker coming on pretty soon, hopefully. She just got her certification. She passed her final class last week or so. I'm very excited about that, so we can have some help. For complaints, we took in and recorded 264 complaints, which resulted in 148 violations being issued, sent out to the property owners. We also did 113 inspections on construction projects throughout the town. And then Rick did his building safety inspection. He had 306 of those. I do actually want to talk about Springfield Gardens a little bit. We've started trying to be a little bit more proactive with them. This past year, we've attended some of their tenant associated meetings. I think I've gone to 3 or 4 by this point. Good contact with their resident representatives. You can email me or call me at any time if there's issues. Also increased our coordination with their management company, trying to get issues resolved. Last year, we had 41 complaints come from their complex that we tried to address. Rick and I also did a safety inspection for the entire complex, which lots of issues were identified and quite a few have been resolved, but there's a lot more that needs to be done there. We've made some changes on how we handle complaints, not just with Springfield Gardens, but throughout any complaint that we receive. But with Springfield Gardens, it used to be that once we received a complaint, the management company would be called, ask them to address that with their tenant. And then if another complaint from them was not received, we assumed it was taken care of, which unfortunately was not the case a lot of times. So we've tried to be even more proactive in that we're going to visit the apartments or buildings that have issues when we get complaints, talk to the tenants, take notes, pictures, if we can, and put that all in documentation and then speak with the management company so that we can come up with a timeline to address these issues. There are so many issues that throwing them all at once would just completely overwhelm them. So we just look to have a timeline back for each one as they come up. And then once they inform us they've taken care of their complaint, we try and get back in touch with the tenant who originally contacted us, verify it with them, and then if we need to, do another inspection. And that's all I have. Maybe not. Oh, one more thing. We also started issuing violations to Springfield Gardens. And apparently, according to our computer system, that has never actually been done in the past. So when I've received complaints from one of the tenants there, I'll go through their apartment or their building that they're in and see what I can find that needs to be addressed. Write those violations up, send them both to the management company and then also to the owner, so they're aware of where their property stands in this, so that we can encourage them to invest some more money and effort into taking care of this property and getting it up to snuff.
Have they been proactive?
They have stepped it up quite a bit. I have not heard back from the owner at all, but the staff there and the women in their office have stepped it up quite a bit and addressed. They've gotten back to me with timelines on stuff, sending me pictures when they've completed projects.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Myers Road, you're aware of the problems over at Myers Road.
Yes.
Had a couple of residents contact me several times about repeat offenders of starting fires all the time. I know the police chief knows about it too.
Yep.
Is there anything can be done on that?
I did receive a complaint for what was being told to me as they were piling up stuff that looked like it could be burned. When I went out there, I couldn't see what was going on at the time. I think at the same time that complainant mentioned there was a RV in the driveway that they believe someone is living in, which is against codes. Violation letter has gone out to them, and they will be, if nothing happens with them, we'll be looking at bringing them to take care of that.
Well, that's pending.
Yes.
That's pending.
Yep. I think I actually sent out a second one as a final violation.
Does that go to the lady that owns the place over there, or does it go to the individual?
It goes to the property owner.
Just to add to that specific question on the burning, DAC is looking at, they've taken it up outdoor burning with the wildfires across the country, kind of thing, as one of the things that they're looking into. And it looks like in a couple of meetings they're going in May, I think they're planning on addressing specifically that. And they're looking at bringing in planning and codes along with the fire district personnel and actually somebody from the state DC to kind of address and see if there are maybe some legislative code changes that we could do that would allow more enforcement on outdoor burning.
Yeah, and I did look into our code actually just the other day about fix. I thought I had remembered seeing somewhere in there that we do have some wording in there for it, and we do have a open burning code that talks about burning things other than wood, garbage, trash, recyclable stuff.
You just went through for that? For outdoor burning?
Not that I've done. Happy to do one.
And the DEC does have their own laws on open, not just open burning, but burning of trash and debris and stuff like that.
That's what the complaint is.
Right, yeah. I think there's another one that's floating around down in Janesville that.
Okay, thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
One more question.
Sure.
For the 264 complaints that you had, was there a running theme? Or was there anything that kind of stood out as repeat across the town?
Well, we're going to be spring, it's gonna be grass growing season. That's the huge one every summer. Other than that, a lot of property maintenance just in general. Cars parking, a lot of unlicensed vehicles in driveways and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have any specific numbers.
That's good.
I'm sure you can answer. A lot of mentioned, like with the fire inspectors, I think said we need about 10 more. Is there a career path? Why and or that individuals could go on and or that's one part. And or why is there such a drought of qualified people?
I don't know why there's a drought. I mean, I don't really know how to answer that.
So how do you?
Max knows, I sort of fell into this job, you know? It just was a good opportunity for me and I had the experience of being in construction. But it's just, you know, trying to convince people, I mean, with what the actual benefits are. I mean, there's a lot of negatives to it, you know, I mean, depends, I mean, not just, I mean, there are all, you know, you're trying to handle complaints of things are going on, but, you know, I mean, just doing all the actual building inspection stuff, there's a lot of ways that people try and get by the rules, you know?
So it's the experience along with the educational and or preparation, the county testing and.
It's kind of from a civil service career pathway sense, there's really two ways. There's three ways. The third way is the least common way, other than the fact that that's the way we just went. For Leah. There are really three ways to be qualified to get the job from civil service. One is through a construction experience, years of construction experience, which is a very, as Derek can say, is a very different job style and set of responsibilities. So it's not often you get somebody that comes that way into it. The other, which is where is being a firefighter. For whatever reason, I think it's a lot to do with the building safety inspections. Being a volunteer firefighter for a certain, like 2 years allows you to be eligible for this position. So that's where a lot of them have come in before, although we haven't gotten them. The third way is you are actually already a qualified, you've passed the test, you've already passed the licensing, which is Leah without the firefighting or the construction experience. We've been able to ever take and pass the test. The problem is it's very difficult to hire in that way it's not like a job training where you can hire somebody as a deputy and then get them to do it. Leah was already here as a clerk, which made that work. I think this is something that whether it's working with the county, working with the state to change the requirements, and then working with the schools.
Got that.
Okay, because this is something that somebody should be able to come out of high school or a 2-year trade school with some with the education necessary to get into a training position.
I can speak to that. The Association of Towns is partnering with SUNY schools. They haven't identified the full cache of them yet, but they're going to be offering micro credentialing that will basically be your funnel into codes, because they're recognizing that a lot of the towns, not just codes, but just personnel period that are qualified to enter the civil service aren't there anymore. So the SUNYs are going to be offering micro credentialing specifically into town positions. That was announced this year, and I think they're trying to get it onto the fall 2025. I don't know what you would call it, but the schooling opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have the firefighter experience or the construction experience, it's not a job you'd want to just step into because you'd be completely lost. Even though if you've got the knowledge to go through and pass all the courses, when you get into the field.
Yeah.
And I came in without any commercial experience at all. So it's been, on that aspect, a huge learning curve for me. But I at least have the fallback of it's similar to residential. So it would not be easy. You know, I mean, Leah's gonna do great, but it's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be a lot of learning and going out, which we've been doing already, taking her out in the field, show her stuff, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Derek.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank you.
For the audience, again, the discussion centered around code enforcement. A code enforcement officer, the closest definition I can give is like a building inspector. But there's someone that goes through buildings and structures and they're able to look at unsafe conditions. So they look at things like sprinkler systems or the electric services or any of the utilities. And then the structure of the building itself, the integrity of the foundation, the walls, the roofing. And so that's where Derek, who came to us with a construction background, was able to slide into code enforcement. And so this conversation is centered around the fact that there is not a real formalized training program to become a code enforcement officer. It's not a lot of schools you can say, oh yeah, I can go to school for that and become a code enforcement officer. There's been a shortage in New York State, and the town is just beginning to get its legs underneath it in terms of having a code enforcement staff that can handle a lot of the problems. And a lot of code enforcement is complaint driven. So we have an obligation to do what's called a fire inspection too. And that's kind of what Lana was alluding to. But we have a long list of obligations and tasks from a code enforcement standpoint, and we're beginning to rebuild our department and take care of those responsibilities. And my final comment is being a code enforcement officer is very much analogous to a police enforcer as well, because most of your communications or interactions with people are over an issue where they're failing to comply. There is typically a safety issue or some type of nuisance associated with their actions. And so there's a bit of an art form in code enforcement because and Derek does an outstanding job at this, is to bring someone into compliance with the least amount of confrontation. And he got done stating there's a lot of negatives. And a lot of that negative aspect of that job is that people who are not in compliance can get confrontational. And so it's a very difficult job. And we thank Derek. He does a great job. Okay.
I just want one more thing. I just want to point out, again, thanks to Derek and Alana, who've only been here for about a year, right? I mean, an amazing.
Anniversary was last week.
An amazing transformation in 12 months, how our planning and zoning office now looked at it. And highlight again, Alana talked about it, but just about 400 permits with a value of over $100 million. So I mean, that office in the last 12 months created, I think it was $106 million of applications. That's a lot of money. Yes. A lot of projects, a lot of work. And again, you get these projects approved, they come in. But folks like Derek have to check up to make sure they're built correctly and everybody's following the rules, and it's a lot of work.
Again, just to clarify,
Shake Shack.
the town does not.
I can't wait.
We did not collect $100 million. There was $100 million of work done in the community. So a business came in, like the TTM plant is a $60 million project. And so someone's going to spend that 100 million on a property or a building or an industry. And the code enforcement officer job is to make sure that it's done properly.
And it's tricky.
He's been all alone.
Yeah, we can go on forever, but one of his jobs is to make sure that the sewer doesn't hook up to the storm drain. Making a full circle. Coming back to that MS4 program. Okay. All right. Alana,
Yeah.
posting canvas for another code enforcement officer.
Yes, so very, very excited that Leah finished her class and passed her last test. So now we would like to move forward with the civil service process to be able to hire her. So the first step is posting the position in the town and then canvassing through civil service.
I would suggest, considering as you said earlier, that, you know, we could probably do with three. That, even though, you know, we have a good candidate, with Leah, that I would recommend we go through the full process of, advertising and interviewing other candidates as well, because we find more than one,
Right.
you know, then
This is
that would be great.
pretty shot though. It hasn't changed since last year.
Yes, but, that's why I said if we advertise beyond just, yeah, just the list, if we put out another advertisement or so, we might get somebody that applies for the job that's not on the list.
Yeah. That's a good suggestion. We'll post for two.
That's great.
Posting, there's a civil service process to the hiring, and we just had an employee internally qualify herself as a code enforcement officer. She's took 6 different tests and passed them along the way. So now we're gonna post for that position that she would be qualified for, and we can slide her into that job title. And Counselor Max is recommending that we post for 2 because we could use another code enforcement officer as well. We will find one, but we can advertise and look. Okay, so I have a motion from Max, post for 2, and a second from Jack. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, good clause.
This is really to keep the conversation moving. I shared around Fishkill, New York's version. Max brought a really good point to me. I shared it because number one, it's simple. It's relatively direct and to the point. But the numbers in there, we don't have to marry up to the numbers. So this will be a future discussion, but I just want to keep the conversation going. I spoke with Senator May's Chief of Staff again, Zach Zellick, and he's tracking a couple tenants in the DeWitt area that fall into perfect examples of good cause. So he's been calling to find out what our status is. So I just want to keep the conversation moving forward. Sam Young had provided some information out of his office, and while Max and I were just talking, we're going to go back to Sam and ask him if he can tell us those 39 evictions that they had, where did they come from? Is it concentrated to one area or is it throughout the town? And set any public hearings. I want to make sure that we have all of the information that we possibly can. Since we do know that both tenants as well as landlord and management companies are watching what we're doing.
Okay.
So that was all I had.
Yep. There is a state push right now to what's called good cause eviction, and the local municipalities have the ability to enact a law and tailor that to their own conditions. And what that would say is a landlord has to prove certain responsibilities on the tenant before they can evict them. A landlord just cannot go in and arbitrarily evict someone from an apartment. You know, they have to have good cause. That's why the title is, and there's about 10 to a dozen items that are considered good cause. And so this board is reviewing and gathering information and taking a look at that issue. Okay, we did the DeWitt parking, the Badgley Road 18-wheeler.
Again, this one's just, I followed up with Barb a few times. I don't know, Barb, are you in the audience? I don't know who Barb is. So, okay, well, followed up with Barb. Yes, and she's just looking to see if there's anything the town can do. So I'm offering it to the town. Is there anything we can do to assist Barb?
On Badgley Road, we could look at weight limit.
How is that enforceable though, other than one of Chief's guys just literally sitting up?
If you
Yeah,
get a
yeah.
complaint on it, someone gives a license plate or something, usually these things are repetitive.
Yes, I
Right.
love it.
Yeah, so,
Repetitive.
so if you have a trucker in an area that's taking a weighted vehicle down a road that is not structured to hold that weight.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know, Badgley, most of Badgley is probably zoned industrial, isn't it?
The whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so if they're in an industrial zone and they're allowed, there's probably not a lot. When we did a comprehensive plan, we had a number of neighborhoods in industrial zones. And we went to them and asked, would they like a residential zoning? And almost invariably, Benedict Road area, Badgley Drive, those types of places chose to stay zoned industrial. And the cited reason for such was when they sell their property, it's usually at a higher premium when they sell to an industry than it is when they sell it as a residence. And so almost all of our industrial zoned residences wanted that ability to sell industry. And so unfortunately, we have a number of residents in the heart of an industrial zone.
Makes sense.
Just a question for, on Badgley, I think one of the complaints is the narrowness of the lanes and the road. And I know it's difficult because of the drainage that's right off of both sides. Is there really no way to improve the road in any way that would
Be very costly, I'll be honest with you.
Would that fall under water betterment? My new favorite term.
I don't. But also you have to keep in mind that you have two businesses that have trucks of their own on that road.
Yeah.
And that's the issue is you can't really, it's more of a through traffic, I think, issue because there are trucks that need to go to businesses that are on that.
That's industrial.
Cause yeah, and they're appropriately there because it's zoned industrial. It's just, it's tough because you know, I've driven on that road as an 18-wheeler was going the other way, and it's like, yeah, you're tight. You don't, and you can't go off to the shoulder, so.
Right, there's drainage ditch.
Yeah.
That as well. We have a residential or a number of residences located in industrial zones. And so their houses live among industries. As I talked about, we would never zone that way. These houses were put there long before zoning was established. And unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do to help mitigate the problems that the homeowners experience living in an industrial area. And typically what happens over time is these houses sell and they sell to a business. And so there's usually a premium dollar on the sale because the business then either knocks the house down or they use the house for business purposes.
I'm happy to follow up with Barb unless somebody else from town wants to take that on.
So
Okay,
that area, in case anybody doesn't know, it's in the Collimer area and the road leads out to Maxwell Park. We have a large park out there, Maxwell Park, that has two softball fields and a big football field. So it's in the Collimer area, gradually leading towards Maxwell Park. That's where it's located.
and well, I don't mean to be laboring these things, but I want to be as informative as I can to the Boy Scouts. And another reason this area is zoned industrial. Industrial areas are typically occupied and used by people from, let's say, 8 to 5. There's a few industries that operate late shifts and go overnight, but for the most part, the town of DeWitt has over 25,000 residents, but we have about 50,000 workers a day come into DeWitt. And this area that we're discussing right now is in the flight paths of the airport. And so when we made the decision to maintain and keep this area industrial, one of the major considerations was, God forbid, if there ever is a plane crash approaching the runways in a residential neighborhood. We don't want that. So we left it industrial because 16 hours of the day, it's likely that the area is unoccupied. So. Okay. Home rule request.
Home rule request forms. There should be two forms in your agenda packet. These are essentially a procedural step in the town renewing and extending the room occupancy tax. The one for Senate Bill 4596, the other for Assembly Bill 5244. And as you see, if you read down, we're basically asking the government above us to enact legislation that the town does not have the power to enact itself as far as imposing an occupancy tax on us hotels. There are some specific instructions for submittal. This took me a few times in 2023, so I'm hoping to do it right the first time. I learned the hard way.
We're also a month earlier, so there shouldn't be a last minute drive to Albany.
It's a very stressful time.
And speaking of the hotel tax, we get 2%. The town of DeWitt gets 2% for tax. For the first time in history was last year in 2024. And it's also a 2-year program, so it's in 2025. I've been working on trying to collect from people that don't want to pay us. People that own hotels don't want to pay us. We started out with a list of about 6. As of today, we got it down to 2. We got $2,500 this week, last week, excuse me, from the hotel that was delinquent. So we're down to 2. That's all we got left to do. So I'll keep on with those 2 and get the hotel tax as soon as we can possibly do that.
I would only add that the board should do 2 motions, one for the Assembly request and one for the Senate request.
Okay, and do you have that wording of the motions? There's numbers that need to be filled in. You can get that. to
I've got all the
Angela?
information. We just need the board to approve these forms as they are in the packet.
Okay, all right. And Angela will be able to put that in.
That's right.
Perfect. Okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion from Jack for the Assembly bill.
Yep.
And a second from Bernard. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. I'll entertain a motion again from Jack and a second from Bernard. For the Senate bill. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried.
Nice job, man.
Thanks. We'll get this
Yeah,
submitted
yeah.
as soon as I get paperwork together.
For what it's worth, the town of DeWitt has 26 hotels, which is a very large number for any municipality. And altogether is, I want to say we generate in excess of $5-6 million in room occupancy tax that goes to the county. We've asked forever for some of that money to come back to our municipality for our use. And the county has never allowed us to share any of that. So just 2 years ago, we enacted a hotel tax with the cooperation of the state assembly and the state senate. And it was only a 2-year tax. And so every 2 years, we have to go back and request it again. And so we're hoping 2025, the hotel tax to us for the years 26 and 27. Okay, the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Byway, Counselor Alex.
Yes, I sent this out to everyone to take a look at it. I'm going to defer to Ms. Jakowski, that's going to come and give a brief overview. She has a 1-pager. What really caught my interest in this, not just from the historical value, but the economic impact that could eventually come through Central New York, particularly the town of DeWitt. And looking at similar scenic byways in Maryland, Mississippi and Tennessee and Alabama, also even in Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia, that
Thanks, yeah, I'd rather have them colored.
bus companies, tour companies, add this to their scenic routes when they are taking those who want to go on scenic routes and tours. And as she shared with me, it is becoming more popular for people to take these tours on land within their area than to go, when I say within their area, within their geographical area. More so for families, it's more economical to tour your area than to necessarily pack up the family and go to the Caribbean in some instances. So I'll just defer my time to Ms. Jankowski.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Councilor Bernard, Alex. My name is Nikita Jankowski, and I live in Syracuse. I'm in the tourism industry. I own a PR agency, Belliside Communications in Syracuse, and I was hired by the steering committee of the Underground Railroad Consortium of New York State to handle their PR and also some of their the resolutions that we're trying to get this byway passed. So the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad byway, as you just heard, it would be a byway that would cross New York State. And Maryland is the first one to have one because Harriet Tubman was born in Maryland and she emancipated herself and left there, escaped to New York State, made her way to Canada, but she spent 54 years of her life in Auburn, New York. And a lot of people outside of New York State don't realize that, and they only recognize Maryland as that location. Well, when Maryland put that byway together, they've seen millions in economic impact to the communities that are along the byway. So that's when New York State, Pennsylvania, New Jersey were all like, wait, we have something here. Let's try this. So now, like for years, there's been a lot of talk, but it was mostly about who's going to put this together. So the steering committee for the Underground Railroad Consortium of New York is made up of different entities and different people that represent different bodies of government and also tourism industry across the state. This byway would go from New York City up the Hudson River up to Albany, Utica, Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo. It's also Auburn, New York, and then Niagara Falls. And so to make this established, the New York State Department of Transportation, they need resolutions passed in each of the locations, in each of the municipalities that are along the byway. And I believe, I think I sent you a link of the map. And so if you have the link to the map, you can actually zoom in to see exactly how close, like where that runs through Duet. And resolutions that we need to get passed in each of those locations are crucial because that's just the stipulation of the New York State Department of Transportation. So far, we've gotten 25, as of today, I got 2 more in today, resolutions passed. That's, what is it? Erie, some of that includes, here, I can tell you who passed them so far. We have Seneca County, Village of Fayetteville, Town of Manlius, City of Lockport, Village of Fultonville, City of Amsterdam, Madison County, Erie County, Town of Amherst, City of Buffalo, Scipio, Cayuga, Village of Aurora, Utica County, City of Oneida, City of Auburn, Town of Pendleton, Village of Spencerport, City of Oneida, Town of Poughkeepsie, Town of Hyde Park, Town of Fiskill, City of Hudson, Town of Sweden, and North Tonawanda. And many more have them on the agenda, just like you do tonight. And I'll be doing more of these presentations as well as my counterparts across the state for the next month or so. The goal was to try to get the resolutions passed by the end of March. That's a very tight deadline. So we're kind of extending it a little bit to April. But they are rolling in and we're getting a lot of interest in this. And as you just heard your fellow counselor mention, economic impact, it's tourism. You know, it brings in outside dollars that stay in this community. And it's great that I got to follow up right behind your county room tax discussion, which I love because we love county room tax. It's in the tourism industry because it brings money from outside of the area here. And this byway, when people are traveling along this byway, they're coming from all over the place. You know, we have a lot of Canadians that would like to come down here, but also people that go to New York State, New York City.
We had a lot of Canadians.
That we.
They don't love us anymore.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of discussions with them. But we have a lot of people that go to New York City and then they want to come back and see what else New York State has to offer because they didn't realize there's a New York State part of it. And when you have those people traveling up the Hudson River, which is right along this byway, they're discovering something new because a lot of people have been here before, but they want to come back and this is a new tourism product for them to explore. So. Any questions?
What would we need to do outside of just passing the local legislation? Do we need to do anything by way of like tourism? Do we need to build anything or?
You can be as involved as you want to be, but most of this is driven by the TPAs, the tourism promotion agents in each county. in your case, Onondaga County, that would be Visit Syracuse. Visit Syracuse would find out the tourism industry, the tourism product here. They would probably work, I mean, if you wanted to be involved and like have some input, you could. There's no demand for any type of, so the one question I keep getting from people is there any financial contribution that's needed? Not at all. Not at all. There's an option if you would like to buy in, you know, to put some money toward it, to donate and things like that. But right now, there is not.
What about the signage? That
Signage,
was a question that.
that has been the number one question is signage, but, okay, so I'm gonna. For this, I'm gonna have to read it, just to make sure I make everything correctly. So we keep getting the question about the billboard signage, asking, explain the resolution to not approve any new request for outdoor advertising along the proposed Harriet Tubman byway. What that is, just to make sure I'm saying it correct. So that means that no on-premises advertising signs will be allowed. No new off-premises advertising signs will be allowed. Current billboards are grandfathered in, and there are no exceptions. The resolutions must stipulate this acceptance. This route was chosen to keep turns at a minimum, providing a continuous route. However, traversing this area is important to connecting the resources.
So we don't allow billboards within our code anyway.
Right, yeah.
So
We're a town absent of billboards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's perfect.
So there's no, but the expectation that, so with this, if this was enacted, there would be informational signage and route
Right.
signage that would go up along the route in addition to what's already there.
Absolutely.
And to explain the historical nature or whatever the attraction.
It would talk about the historical nature and also some of the like tourism attractions that are relevant to this as well.
Excellent.
Such as directing people to the Erie Canal Museum
Erie
downtown.
Canal Museum, the Onondaga Historical Association downtown, you know, and some of the other locations that have sites where, because even though it's named the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad Byway, that's to honor her, but it's also telling the stories of other freedom seekers and also the abolitionists that were in this area as well.
So it says here, New York State DOT assumes the cost of all official signage along the scenic byway. The municipalities make no financial commitment, but that doesn't say we couldn't put some signage up that was educational and hopefully tasteful. If we worked with, let's say, your organization and others to highlight
That we'd have to get permission from New York State Department of Transportation.
that station, okay. We have a wonderful working relationship with New York State DOT.
I'm just curious because I know Auburn's, they're the big one here because of Harriet lived there.
Right.
Do we have any specific known historic buildings or geographic markers here already in DeWitt? I'd like people to stay here versus choosing to go to Auburn, but I get the bigger appeal over there. Do we have anything?
We have historical markers and signage along the canals that deal with other issues. I don't think we have anything that highlights Harriet Tubman or the abolitionists. And that's why I was of the mindset that could we, if we wanted to invest ourselves, how,
Right, and that's where Visit Syracuse and also the historians in the area would get together to see what you have here and how that can really.
They would help us.
And that might be,
Right.
I don't want the way in with the DOT would be to go through Visit Syracuse.
Right.
To try and highlight.
right?
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Right, and also, you were mentioning just now the Erie Canal, that was a big part of it too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion from Bernard in a second. Go. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? You have the resolution in the packet.
But who was the second?
Oh, Joe, I'm sorry.
And you're asking for a letter of support? This letter of support, we have to submit from the board.
So you don't have to submit a letter of support.
Okay.
That would be nice. It just kind of strengthens our cause.
I can do it pretty, I have the template here. I'll do it. and submit
That would be great. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Assuming the board's okay with that?
yeah, absolutely. Just pass the resolution,
Yep.
yeah. Okay. Again, thank you for coming. We're pretty much done with our agenda. We're gonna approve minutes and some mundane finance stuff. If there's anything else you need, please reach out.
Thank you. Yeah, we'd love to take you out on the tour sometime when things are done.
Yes,
I shoot out an email to you guys, because I know, Dr. Bernard was talking about,
okay,
yeah, thank you.
great.
The minutes are for the 24th.
What's that?
Oh,
The 24th, not the title.
It's
Oh.
kind of the 24th.
It's going by too fast.
Oh, February 24.
That's.
I get you. Okay,
Yeah.
Concern.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I thought you'd be here.
is there an issue you would like to approach this board over? Anybody sitting here in the audience? No? Okay. If there's question or an issue, let us know. We're gonna entertain a motion for the minutes of the February 24th meeting. I have a motion from Bax and a second from Jack. Any discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. Okay. The check warrant for March 3rd. Folks have a chance to take a look at the. Okay, I'll entertain a motion from Carrie and a second from Jack. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried. Any town board updates?
Yes, and I'd just like to talk for a minute, just an update for the board and for the community on the water issues that we've been having related to the city of Syracuse. So for those of you, and Rocco, feel free to jump in and explain anything that I'm getting wrong, but town of DeWitt water system obtains water from both the city of Syracuse and from Aqua, the County Water Authority. As you may have read or seen on television, the city of Syracuse is having an issue, a longstanding issue, but it is exacerbated right now with providing water in their own system, which is limiting their availability to provide water to the city, the town of DeWitt, which has led to water pressure issues in certain areas of the town. The town is working with Yanda County Water Authority, working with the city of Syracuse, working with our town engineer to try and make sure that our water pressure is as good as it needs to be, or as good as it can be. We're currently looking at both short and medium term solutions to try and get more water available from Aqua so that we're a little less reliant on the city of Syracuse. Ultimately, the city of Syracuse water system needs hundreds of millions of dollars of improvements and investment, which the city itself can't afford right now. So we need to do something in the town of DeWitt to try and reduce our reliance on their water. So we are working with the local water authorities and trying to partners and trying to come up with different solutions and hopefully we'll have something to bring in the near term, some solutions, some start of some projects.
My neighborhood's one of the areas suffering.
So just so that I'm understanding correctly, like the Orvilleton neighborhood Facebook page, whenever the water pressure is down, they're like, no water. So they're thinking it's a, underground issue, a break. So is it a break issue or is it a supply issue?
I'll let Rocco.
It's a supply issue right now. There's 3 feeds. We finally got one. They shut us off Thursday. There's 3 feeds over there from the city, Genesee Street, Radcliffe Road, Springfield Road. So they've shut them off before. We got them to turn Radcliffe back on. And last Thursday, they had a major issue. It was on the news with SU. Syracuse didn't have water. So we got a call from them. They were shutting us off again. So today they turned Radcliffe back on, but we've all weekend long, we had to run our pumps constantly at Maple Drive to try to keep up, which is unsustainable. It's an old pump station. So today they turned back Radcliffe. So hopefully Marvelton will be okay for a while. Still not really great pressure, but okay. So it's not a break or nothing like that. It's a supply issue from the city.
I can't take a hot shower.
Couldn't we run a loop
Any hot water?
from Thompson Road? Right, Thompson Road is they got the water tower. Couldn't you run a loop from Thompson Road to Lemoyne College to feed you guys? And then put another water tower? And we had, Chrysler had a water tower. We had, Eves had a water tower. We had, Carrier took down water. We had 3 water towers over that you guys don't have any.
Well, that's the north town.
I know, but is there, can't we put a water tower, smaller water tower somewhere in Lemoyne?
We're talking.
Well, that's what we're talking about, but you gotta get the water to the tower. Right now, that whole area.
Isn't Lemoyne College, is that aqua feeding through there where the East Syracuse?
The whole east side of.
But East Syracuse used to cut through Lemoyne College, didn't they? Village East Syracuse
The village system from Janesville.
used to cut through there.
Yes.
Yes, but that was abandoned long ago. That pipe had so many leaks in it.
But there's nothing there we tie in.
There's an old reservoir up there, but
Yeah.
That's it.
But that is exactly going backwards from that is exactly one of the things that we're considering now is connecting into the aqua system in East Syracuse and going up Thompson
We
Road.
made a loop, so you got proper pressure all the way around.
Yeah. And we're talking with Lemoyne about access to that property and everything.
Yeah, but again, it's New York State DOT. We'd have to get access through from the tower at Jamesville or James Street, right? There's access there.
right.
We gotta get from that tower on James Street to Lemoyne. So you're getting under 690 under Erie Boulevard.
And then pumping it back.
And that whole line's very good done to.
what's that?
The bird comes from Barker Hill, none of that can use that.
It's untreated water. You'd have to put a filtration.
We're treating it out.
Well, first of all, they abandoned that in the 80s or not.
That's not a long run for your neighborhood though.
The line that ran from Appeal down Apulia Road served the residents in James. They were out of district. It went to the village of East Syracuse. It went to the pond on Barker Hill Road.
Right.
And it went to the pond at Lemoyne. And those 2 reservoirs maintained enough pressure and it fed gravity flow down into the village of East Syracuse. That whole system, that pipe is long.
But couldn't you put a small tower like we got at the bus garage, small tower there
We are looking to.
Well, that's what they're looking at.
up on Lemoyne's property?
On Lemoyne's property, but again, you gotta get the water to the tower. There's
Correct.
no pipe large enough to fill a water tank on the Lemoyne property. So we're talking lots of money
What's Bristol?
getting a pipe.
Where's Bristol's water coming?
East Aqua.
You know, which way does it come in?
So they have a transmission line that comes down Thompson Road to the railroad spur along Burnett Ave. It follows the spur right through the village of East Syracuse and heads east. Aqua we had a discussion with them last Thursday, that's a potential tie into, I think it's a 24-inch main, Tisco Lake water. Problem is, we have to get a permit probably, we have to go directionally drill underneath 690. With probably a 12 or 16-inch main.
Like where Cells of Agnes down there, there's a water down there. Near your house.
It runs, yes, it follows the tracks on the south side, yes.
It's good for the tower down there.
Oh, well, we need a tower,
Higher.
we need a tower. That's where you need a tank at Lemoyne.
We have
But you're also gonna need to put a pump station in because it's a different pressure zone.
Gotta pump up the
You
hill.
gotta put,
Well,
the neighborhood up there it's long overdue. Whenever there's a breakdown on Wide Waters or the Boulevard, it totally drains that whole neighborhood where you guys all live. So it definitely needs
Genesee
some
Hills.
improvements.
Yeah.
We also have issues too, because we have a feed at Julian Plaza that they shut off behind the tops.
Right.
So that's shut off now too. So we're feeding that right now through Solvay Road.
Yeah.
Which is city water through Aqua. And you better pray that they don't run out of water or we will be in big trouble. You're talking a lot of people.
I say, we can't take Parker Hill water.
Well, the whole system
You'd have
is,
to put a filtration system.
So who, just like I was saying, they're thinking it's, you know, a water main break when it's a supply and water main. Is there, I don't know, is it on the page, an explanation so that people are not just explaining why the pressure is low or, you know?
I personally think that the board should come up with a press release. That's my opinion. Inform your residents, so what's going on. Because we've had breaks, don't get me wrong, but we fixed them. You know what I mean? So, and I can tell you right
Because they're
now,
making it, what's being said is like it's,
I'd rather a lot of this discussion be in executive session. Water is a sensitive issue throughout New York State. And I'll just say publicly right now, the county is faced with $1 billion project in getting water to White Run. So every 1,000,000 gallons counts. And so we can discuss this, but all of these projects and how we tactfully go about it, because there will be a prioritization of where the water is going at the county level. And so even if we were to put these programs in place and Aqua were willing, they may not have the water in the long run. Right? I mean, there's 2 feeds right now from Lake Ontario and they're at capacity. And so there's need for more water.
And we have an expert
Everywhere.
on our staff,
Everywhere.
water expert, and you're looking at.
But there's need for more water everywhere right now.
I mean, yes, I appreciate that. What I'm asking is more so a PR.
I would agree with Rocco and you, Bernard, that I think we should have a statement or something on the website or just get it out to say.
That's my own.
I think we can limit it to we're working to fix the supply issues, blah, 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 but I mean, to be honest, to put it on the city and saying that we get water from the city and they're having trouble supplying it. It's not, if we do have breaks, we fix them. It's not unresolved breaks. That's a problem right now.
Exactly, because it is making the appearance that it is the water department not being able to maintain or the breaks.
Understood. Well, no, I agree with all that. I just want to be careful about how and who we're pointing the fingers at.
Okay, I have a different subject I'd like to bring up quickly. Last Friday at my house, I'm on Green Tree Drive in Franklin Park, 11:45 a.m. I pulled into my garage and my wife is not there. She's out to Wegmans spending thousands of dollars. So I'm pulling into the garage, and I hear this beeping. So I'm thinking something's wrong with my car. As I look at my car, I have no idea what I'm doing. Open the back door. I hit the security code goes off, but the beeping continues. In our kitchen, we have a little device that National Grid gave us in 2017 that you plug in, and it's a CO monitoring device. That's what's going off. So I quick call up my wife and say, what are you supposed to do with this thing? She goes, I don't know, call 911. I called 911. The DeWitt Fire Department responded in 5 minutes at my back door with 4 guys who were very knowledgeable from the DeWitt Fire Department. They came from Franklin Park, from the Firehouse 2, where they are now housed, all 4 of these guys. 2 of them immediately went down cellar, which we finished off basement. We have a furnace down there. They inspected the whole downstairs. The other 2 come in, inspected the kitchen, inspected the laundry room, inspected the bathroom upstairs. They all got together, got all their heads together and said, your device here was given to you in 2017, and these things wear out after 7 or 8 years. So I would suggest you throw this away and head for Home Depot, buy another one for $30. I just want everyone to know how Town of DeWitt Fire Department responded to my house in 5 minutes with 4 guys who were very knowledgeable. They were all full-time employees of the DeWitt Fire Department.
Next, do you want to schedule the water walk?
Oh, yeah, well, if we're, yeah.
Excellent, good story. Did you get the alarm yet?
Oh, yeah, kidding me? Pam and I went over there next hour. She didn't have any money left from Wegmans. We went over there, charged to the town to it.
Anyway, we don't get an alarm.
Add to, Matt's point, something I forgot to add, to the agenda. At the water department's request, there are some code changes related to water shutoff. Discontinuance of service.
Notice and without notice.
Yeah, that we really need to add to the code before the water meter project begins, so that if people are completely non-responsive with replacing the water meters, that we have an option to turn off the water if absolutely necessary.
I do have the law prepared. A lot of the language directly from Aqua and how they handle these things. And so I'll send that around to the board and take a look.
Do you want to set the public hearing for like?
Yeah, we're hoping to set it.
The first one in April,
Oh,
first meeting in April, I think would be good. I don't think there's anything on the schedule for the first meeting in April yet, is there? As far as you know?
Yeah,
I hope not.
April 14th,
April 14th. Really? It's that week.
right? And can't get any
Yeah.
farther
Is that what it
around
is?
into April.
Yeah, April 14th.
April 14th.
I will not be here.
Oh, that is spring break.
Is that,
I will be here.
is that the school break week?
It is that weekend.
Mr. Mannion? Fast meeting.
I'll probably be here.
Well, you might not be here either. All right, well, as the time comes, so.
I had one other thing. Last meeting, we talked about the SPCA. We paid them $7,182 for quarterly payment on a contract that we gave to the SPCA for $39,582. Did anybody find out anything about that?
Yes, I met with the director, interim director today, Jean Madigan.
To get on it,
She gave me a report that I gave to Angela that will circulate somewhere in the next week or two. But there's a lot of changes. There's an open house. There's upcoming on a Saturday that they're inviting anybody that would like to come and see. But the board is basically taken over. She was on the board of directors. She's the interim director. They're rebuilding. She says she has a wonderful staff and wonderful volunteers. And they're trying to right the ship and move things forward. And she had all the right answers, and I was very impressed.
As I emailed, I think it was last week, but at the last tennis association meeting at Springfield Gardens, actually sent over one of their members to talk about, you know, if there's wild dogs running around or if there's just dogs running around, call them. He went through how he catches the dogs, what they do with them. He was very professional, really good.
Said he would come. She said he could come to a future board meeting if he'd like.
So they are working, they are out there. I was pleased to see that, and I heard that Ed was having a meeting with the interim director.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, she had a list of animal cruelty calls that they've had it with, but they're only getting like stray dogs. Or it's maybe one a month. 3 a month, something like that's a lot. So it's not a lot of calls that they're receiving.
she said there wasn't many.
Okay, any other updates? So let's do the motion on setting the public hearing for April 14th for the water law changes,
Chapter 186, yeah.
whatever he just said. I'll entertain a motion from Max, a second from Sarah. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion's carried. Okay, I think we're set for executive session. I want to thank everyone for coming this evening. We're going to enter an executive session. We have some contracts that we need to discuss in private.
Guys need a sign in the back?
Do you need signatures in the back?
Yeah.
Come on up.
Oh, there's the ladies.
All right, Doc.
Curious?
Sorry for you.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Will Sherman.
Will?
Yeah.
Spell your last name, Will?
SHR.
That's for Mr. Connor.
Already figure.
Tell him we said hello.
I went to high school with him.
There you go. Thanks for sticking it out. We learned something. Have a good night.
Now I know my work.
Take it in. Bring water. There you go.
You guys are still in.
We gotta go into executive session.
Oh, entertain a motion to enter executive session from Bernard, a second from Joe. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion's carried.
Okay, let me turn it off.